I am very disappointed with Mo Salah.
He ain't going back to that level he was 2-3 years ago. It's just not happening.
But he doesn't make you want to watch him. He doesn't make you love football. There are players much lower numbers that you love to watch. Okocha.
Footballing wise, he's not better than Suarez.
In January 2014, Chelsea beat Liverpool to sign a relatively unknown left-footed winger from Basel. Everyone thought he'd joined the better club at the time. Chelsea had just won the Champions League and Europa League in 2012 and 2013 respectively, so they were one of the top clubs in Europe. But that didn't help this winger. He found it hard to break into the first team, and a year later, he was loaned out. He would eventually get sold to Roma in 2016, and that was it for his Chelsea career, and his Premier League career too perhaps. He just couldn't hack it in the toughest league in the world, they said. He played a total of 19 games for Chelsea and scored just 2 goals, so everyone thought Chelsea were right to have binned him off, and that Liverpool was stupid to have signed him in 2017. But it turned out to be the exact opposite. This guy is turning out to be one of the Premier League GOATs right before our eyes. How did this happen? How was he so bad at Chelsea, but this great for Liverpool? This is how a Chelsea reject became Liverpool's greatest. Of course, at this point you know we're talking about Mohamed Salah. You see, when he was still a youngster in Egypt, he was a very promising talent. He was promoted to the first team when he was just 15 years old, but he was so small that he had to be put on a special diet for his muscles to be fully formed. He really started to kick off in the Egyptian top flight, but in 2012 the league was suspended and later cancelled due to a stadium riot, and Basel, who'd been monitoring him, decided to use that opportunity to invite him to Switzerland for a training session. They went on to sign him shortly after. But it was really rough for him at the start. This was a young kid who was far away from home in a country whose language he didn't speak. But one language he could speak very fluently was football, and he made sure to talk with the ball. He made his unofficial debut during a friendly match and he registered a goal. Life at Basel quickly began to pick up for Salah, and he began to show how comfortable he was against English opponents in particular. His first European goal came against Spurs in the quarter-finals of the 2013 Europa League season, as he helped Basel advance to the Final Four. In the semis, he scored against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Even though Basel eventually got knocked out, that goal seemed to have left an impression, as Chelsea came for him just months later. But being honest, it was more than just that goal. In 79 games for Basel, Salah was directly involved in 34 goals. Not bad for a young player who'd just come to Europe for the first time. He was 21 years old when Chelsea signed him. It made so much sense, a signing for the future, but still, everyone who had watched him at Basel, especially in those Europa League games, expected Salah to prosper at Chelsea from the very start. And it wasn't exactly a bad start. He scored in just his 3rd Premier League game, and it was against Arsenal too. Not a bad start to life in a new, much tougher league. He would end that season with 2 goals and an assist in 10 appearances. Not bad. The following season was supposed to be when he blew up, but things just got worse for him. He played a total of 30 Premier League minutes in the first half of the season, and of course, he didn't score any goals. Both parties figured it wasn't working out, so a loan was the best option. Salah went out on loan to Fiorentina in the winter transfer window, and in Italy, he hit the ground running. He had 7 goal contributions in his first 7 games for Fiorentina, including 2 goals against Juventus in the semi-finals of the Cup, 1 against Inter in Serie A and 1 against Spurs in the Europa League. He ended up with 13 goal contributions for Fiorentina in just half a season. Now, that loan was supposed to be for 18 months. Fiorentina wanted to make it permanent after 6 months, but Salah said no. In fact, he refused to return to Fiorentina to see out the remaining 12 months of his loan deal. Anyway, he ended up joining AS Roma in the summer of 2015 on a 1-year loan deal with an option to buy. That loan season in Rome was brilliant. He scored 15 goals and provided 6 assists while playing virtually everywhere on the pitch. In that one season alone, he played as a right winger, left winger, attacking midfielder, second striker, and even a centre forward. It didn't matter where he played, he just always delivered. After such a productive season, making the deal permanent was a no-brainer. Roma paid Chelsea €15 million and made Mo Salah theirs in the summer of 2016. That season was even better. He was directly involved in 33 goals, and he helped Roma finish 2nd in Serie A that season. Mind you, this was despite the fact that he missed close to 2 months of football that season because of the AFCON. Liverpool had seen enough. Remember, they wanted to buy him back in 2014, but they were beaten out by Chelsea. This time around, they were not going to let anyone stop them. The Reds agreed to pay Roma €42 million, a club record fee at the time. Everyone said Liverpool was silly for making a Premier League flop their most expensive player ever. Yes, his numbers in Serie A were good, but everyone said that was only because he had found his level in an easier league. The Premier League was just too tough for him. In his first season for Liverpool, Salah completely walked the league. He came in and it felt like he'd been a Liverpool player for years. He had 3 goal contributions in his first 3 games for Liverpool, and that included a goal and an assist against Arsenal. But that was just the beginning of his scoring spree. He would end up scoring 32 goals and providing 10 assists in 36 Premier League appearances that season, and those were record-breaking numbers. He became the player to score the most goals in a single 38-game Premier League season, a record which stood until Erling Haaland broke it in 2023. That season, Salah was named PFA Players and Fans Player of the Year, FWA Footballer of the Year, Premier League Player of the Season, and of course, he won the Premier League Golden Boot. Oh, and don't forget that he also won the FIFA Puskás Award for the best goal of the season. But that wasn't all. He also led Liverpool to the final of the Champions League for the first time in over a decade. Unfortunately, he sustained an injury in the first half of the game, and without him, Liverpool were just not able to complete the job against defending champions Real Madrid. But guess what? Even with a crazy season like that, people still didn't believe that this guy was a legend in the making. They called him a one-season wonder, said that he just had a freak season, and that he'd soon go back to being irrelevant the following season. Well, this one-season wonder went on to directly contribute to 37 goals for Liverpool in the 2018-19 season, helped them win the Champions League for the first time in 14 years, and were just a point away from winning the Premier League. By the way, Salah also won the Premier League Golden Boot for the second time in 2 years, and things continue to get better for him. Ahead of the 2019-20 season, he helped Liverpool beat his former club Chelsea to win the UEFA Super Cup. Then, halfway into the season, he led the club to the FIFA Club World Cup title. But most importantly, Salah was able to help Liverpool win their first ever Premier League title. That season, Liverpool became the first team to win 22 consecutive home games in the history of the English top flight. They also beat every single team in the Premier League for the first time in their history. On a personal note, Salah also had a crazy season. He became the player with the most goals in their first 100 Premier League appearances for Liverpool. He scored 70 in 100 games, beating Fernando Torres by 7 goals. He was undoubtedly Liverpool's main man now. And this Premier League title was extra sweet for him because Liverpool lifted the trophy just after beating Chelsea, the club who refused to believe in him and give him a chance. The 2020-21 season was not the best for Liverpool, but Salah and the rest of the team rose from the dead in the 2021-22 season. He was back to top form. That season, he was directly involved in 46 goals in 51 appearances for Liverpool. This guy had a run of 15 Premier League games where he got at least a goal or an assist. And you know what makes this even more insane? This run included a goal and an assist against Man City, a hat-trick and an assist against Man United, a goal against Chelsea, a goal against Arsenal, and a brace in the Merseyside derby. Mo Salah was truly unstoppable, and it didn't matter what caliber of opponent he was going up against. In 2022, he helped Liverpool reach the Champions League final, and once again, they were just 1 point away from winning the Premier League. They were on the verge of completing a historic quadruple, but the margins were just too fine. It wasn't a completely horrible season though, as the Reds ended up winning both domestic cups, the EFL Cup and the FA Cup. Salah, however, swept all the awards in England yet again. He was named PFA Players and Fans Player of the Year and FWA Footballer of the Year. He also won the Premier League Golden Boot as well as the Playmaker of the Season award. And to crown it all, Salah finished 5th at the 2022 Ballon d'Or. Having shown that he's still got it, Liverpool decided to give Salah a new contract in the summer of 2022, which should keep him at the club until summer 2025. Now, the 2022-23 season wasn't exactly Salah's greatest, but he still finished with 46 goal contributions in 51 appearances and broke a few records. That season, he scored the fastest hat-trick in Champions League history, became the highest goal scorer for an English side in the history of the competition, became Liverpool's top scorer in Premier League history and also became the highest scoring Egyptian in football history. Salah finished 4th in the Premier League top scorers chart and second only to De Bruyne for assists. But they weren't enough to secure a top 4 spot for Liverpool, which meant that they had to compete in the Europa League in the 2023-24 season. This season, which turned out to be Jurgen Klopp's last at Liverpool, was rather disappointing. First of all, Salah began to get a lot of interest from Saudi Arabia ahead of the new season. Al Ittihad reportedly offered him a 2-year contract worth £155 million, and they were ready to pay a transfer fee of £52 million, but it was turned down. Before the window closed, Al Ittihad improved the offer further and were reportedly ready to pay £150 million to Liverpool to sign the Egyptian. It was very tempting, and there were many rumours that Salah would leave, but he ended up staying. However, there were a lot of whispers that this would be his last season at the club. And it didn't exactly help that the 2023-24 season was just not good enough by Liverpool's standards. They finished 3rd in the Premier League, got knocked out in the quarter-finals of the FA Cup by Man United, and got knocked out also in the quarter-finals of the Europa League by Atalanta. Now, with a season this underwhelming, coupled with Klopp announcing that he was leaving, some fans started to say it might be time to cash in on Salah and begin a rebuild of the club. After all, he had just 1 year left on his contract, and there's a possibility he could leave for free in 2025, which would be a disaster. Well, those fans who were begging for Salah to be sold in 2024 very quickly swallowed their words when the season started. Many people thought that Salah was declining, but the 2024-25 season is turning out to be his absolute peak, and he started to show that from the very first day of the season. Against Ipswich in the first match of the season, he became the player with the most goals on Premier League opening day in the league's history. And then in the second game of the new Champions League season, he went on to surpass Drogba to become the highest scoring African in the history of the UEFA Champions League. In December, Salah scored 2 and assisted 1 against Newcastle, meaning that he had scored and assisted in the same game more times than any other player. By the end of December, Salah already had 15 goals and 11 assists in the Premier League, making him the first player in the league's history to reach double digits for both goals and assists before Christmas. Before the new year, Salah broke a few more records. He became the player with the most goal contributions in a single month in Premier League history, the first player to score and assist in 8 different games in a single season, and the player needing the fewest matches to reach 30 goal contributions in a single season. His goals and assists this season have pushed him to 6th and 10th in the Premier League all-time top scorers and top assist charts respectively, which have put him in the conversation of the greatest players in Premier League history. Right now, he's the frontrunner for the 2025 Ballon d'Or, and if he goes on to actually win it, how can you argue against him being the Premier League's GOAT? Already, he is arguably Liverpool's greatest ever player. But wait a minute, isn't it crazy how Mohamed Salah went from being a Chelsea reject to all this? Who would have thought it? But I want to hear from you now. Would you say that Salah is the greatest player in Premier League history? If he's not, where would you have him in your all-time rankings? Talk to me in the comments.